As you may have been seeing and many of you experiencing, the workplace has been adversely affected by the COVID-19 coronavirus. In a bid to comply with social distancing, more and more people are working from home and other business operations are closing down completely. A question now being asked is, will this affect the TV and movie production industry to a point that we might even start to see some of our favourite programmes coming off air? Well, to give us a sense of the impact of COVID-19 and what it's having on the entertainment industry, we're now joined on the line by Nimrod Geva from the Independent Producers Association. Thanks very much indeed for joining us, Nimrod. I know that you sent out a letter, I think it was to your producers, members. What have you been telling them about whether they should carry on work or shut down their productions?
Well, thanks for having me, Peter. I think what we've communicated to our members is that we have to now plan for the inevitable. We've seen it across the globe, productions shutting down in the US, in Europe, Australia, and elsewhere. And given that we have got some warning, we need to take advantage of that tiny window of time to make things prepared for what we're going to be dealing with. So we have called on our members to postpone productions where possible and to look at kind of an orderly approach to winding down when things, as the numbers seem to suggest, become really, really bad. This is a wildfire, and getting stuck behind it is going to be disastrous.
Could this see us perhaps seeing some of our favourite programmes coming off air in the near future?
I guess it depends what you mean by near future. Generally, soap productions, which are the most popular in the country, tend to shoot a little bit ahead. So there is some stockpiling there. And that means that even if a production shuts down, there will be some programs that will continue to air. Of course, it all depends on how long the shutdown is and how quickly we can get back up to speed.
All right. I mean, films in particular can often have many, many people on set, and these sets move around. They'll be particularly vulnerable.
Yes. So obviously the limit on 100 gatherings of 100 people or more is affecting certain films and productions, but others don't reach that threshold. So technically they're not, meeting that requirement in shutting down. So the films and productions from overseas, most of them have ceased operation, but most of the soap productions are still running at this point.
Have you started to see inquiries for locations from abroad starting to slow down?
Yes, we have. There's, aside from the requirement around gatherings, there's limits on travel, and of course international actors who might be on these international productions can't actually enter the country. And I know of several instances where productions had to postpone indefinitely until travel bans are lifted.
All right. So as we started this conversation, you talked about what was happening around the world. So if things carry on the way that they're going, does it seem very likely that in the near future, whatever that time might be, that some production houses will have to close their shops for the foreseeable future?
I think the risk is existential to the industry as a whole. Producers, cast and crew are not in a position to weather this kind of storm. And that is why we are calling on broadcasters, particularly who have deep pockets or the backing of government, to take some collective responsibility for this global pandemic. We cannot pretend this is business as usual. We need to come together, and we need them to support the industry that has created all the content that drives their revenue as we weather the storm.
All right. And then finally, so what you're saying is, at this stage, you haven't told anybody to shut down, but certainly to start considering the reality of the environment that we're in and make the necessary preparations for what might be coming.
Yes, and we need to do that with broadcasters and government. because we alone as the freelancers and producers cannot sustain the risk and the financial burden of this. We're not covered by insurance for the coronavirus. If there's a quarantine on set, it's really just the producers that are on the hook. And we need a collective response to ensure that we survive and come back stronger.
All right. Nimrod Geva, we'll leave it there for the time being. He's with the Independent Producers Association, another area of work that is being affected, of course, by this COVID-19 pandemic.